The following is a special presentation of TNN Motorsports. The Pep Boys Indy Racing League comes to Texas. Welcome to the second annual True Value 500. Bruton Smith Speed Plant will be packed with 120,000 fans. The reason why? 1 year ago, on a hot Texas Saturday night, they ran wheel to wheel. Tony Stewart in that yellow car and Buddy Lazier alongside battled for the lead side by side for a couple of laps just like this at over 200 miles per hour as those fans held their breath. That's the kind of competition we expect tonight on this new and reconfigured racetrack. A brand new paving job all the way around and new transitions into and out of the turns since the NASCAR race here in April. It's a whole new surface and a whole new deal here in Texas. Tony Stewart did not prevail 1 year ago, but he's starting from the pole here tonight. Ralph Shaheen is with the pole sitter.
For the sixth time in his Pep Boys Indy Racing League career, Tony Stewart will start on the pole with a lap at 224 miles an hour. He absolutely shattered all track records here at Texas Motor Speedway. But Tony, you went even faster in the final practice on full tanks, 225 miles an hour. How fast will you be going here in this race?
I think that's about it. I mean, you know, when we qualified yesterday afternoon, the air was pretty heavy and the humidity was real high. But, you know, in the afternoon when the race warm-up came around, the skies cleared a little bit and the air got a little thinner, and that let us go a little quicker.
This racetrack has been redone. How is it now?
I mean, this place is unbelievable. The people here at Texas have a track to be proud of now. It's by far the smoothest mile-and-a-half oval I've been on, and the transitions are really nice. I mean, last year the cars jumped around quite a bit coming off the corners, and this year you can come off of there and it's really nice and gentle. So it's going to make for good racing tonight.
At 225 miles an hour, it should be an awesome show. With more on the stories a little bit farther in the pack, here's the newest member of the TNN Motorsports crew, Vince Welch.
Thank you, Ralph. Happy to be here at the Texas Motor Speedway with a gentleman that added his name recently to a very prestigious list, Eddie Cheever, whose face will now be on the Borg Warner Trophy as the winner at the Indianapolis 500 2 weeks ago. And Eddie, is it momentum that you bring here to Texas?
I wish it was, because we're starting in 20th place, so we're not exactly where we left off last week, but the Indy 500 is there. It's in the bag. We're now fourth in the points. We have a big problem here in Texas. The car's not running as we were hoping it would, but back to reality again, starting from the back of the field, and you got to go that way. It's going to be a long, hard race.
Ari came here last year as the Indy 500 winner, won this race as well. How confident are you in the car now that you have made some changes?
Well, we picked up a lot of speed yesterday, about 3 miles an hour. We're still about 4 miles an hour off where we want to be, but this is a long, hard race. You know, it's a 208 laps, whatever, 209 laps is a long way to go. It's very hard on the cars, and I think it's going to be like a NASCAR race today. A lot of drafting, long lines of cars, and unlike NASCARs that can bump into each other, these things don't do too good when you touch somebody. So it's going to be a long, tactical race, and it's great to be racing this facility. We love it. Down here in Texas is a heck of a place to come and race.
Eddie Cheever introduced Rachel's Gourmet Potato Chips as his main sponsor at Indianapolis. They got quite a bargain. He's the Indy 500 winner, comes here to Texas, hoping to move up through the field.
Well, a group of Pony Express riders brought all the flags of racing to the start-finish line except one, the green flag. Bruton Smith, known for his pre-race theatrics, brings Rocket Man to Texas Motor Speedway with the green flag. Can't you just see Tony Stewart taking a ride in that? I can. He brings his helmet even when he visits the short tracks and has a great time. I'd love to see him in that thing. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Texas. I'm Mike Joy, just north at Fort Worth, Britton Smith's beautiful speed plant. The Pep Boys Indy Racing League. How competitive has it become? Just look at the list of winners. In the series' first season, 3 races, 3 different winners. Year 2, 10 races, 9 different drivers went to victory lane, and already this year in the 3 races to date, nobody's repeated. So I turn to my buddy, 1983 Indy 500 champion Tom Sneva, and say, what do we expect tonight?
Well, I expect, first of all, 28 other rocket men about ready to get it off. But it's going to be a great race. For the drivers, it's like driving around the inside of a coffee cup. With the banking and the grip, it's pretty easy for these guys to run flat out around the racetrack. What's that going to become? That's going to become a focus problem. A lot of the guys have to focus. And when you put 28 cars out there at once, it's going to be a barnstormer, Mike. It'll be fun to watch. The key for the crews is how to disguise the rear wing from the air that's around it. Everybody's mandated to run the 1-inch wicker bill in the back of the wing. It has a 6-degree attack angle, so everybody has the same drag proportionate to their cars. What they need to do is disguise that wing from the air around it. We'll show you in a minute, or during the show, exactly how some of the teams attempted to disguise that rear wing.
Trying to lessen drag and increase speed, but every one of these drivers has his foot on the floor flat all the way around this 1.5 miles, and that's going to make for an exciting night. We'll be back to start engines and give you a look at the starting lineup. Let's start them now. Let's go trackside for the command.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the most famous words in all of motorsports, please welcome back our Grand Marshal Scott Campbell.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
We'll have a look at the starting lineup for the second annual True Value 500 after this. P&N Motorsports exclusive presentation of the True Value 500 is brought to you by Pennzoil, formulated for today's stop-and-go drivers. Kenny Breck, 6th in the 500 at Indy, and John Paul Jr., who finished 7th there. Jeff Ward, runner-up at Phoenix in March, and Greg Ray, who started on the front row at Indy and led 18 laps. In row 8, Davey Hamilton finished 3rd at Phoenix and 4th in the 500. Stefan Gregoire, 4th in Orlando and Phoenix. Donnie Beechler, the Silver Crown graduate, makes his 2nd start. Alessio Salazar, winner at Las Vegas. Raul Boisel, who was 8th at Phoenix, and Eddie Cheever, who went from 19th to 4th in the points with his Indy win. Dr. Jack Miller from Carmel, Indiana, and J.J. Yaley, youngest driver in the field at 21. Buddy Lazier, worst start in the IRL history for Lazier, the 96 Indy 500 winner. And Sam Schmidt, the Formula Ford 2000 and Spec Racer graduate, who has a pair of top 10s this year. Billy Rowe out of Formula Atlantic in his 5th IRL start, and Stan Waddles, who drives the former road race standout Bryce Cobb. Then it's Robbie Unser, who got 5th at Indy, and Tice Carlson, the USAC midget star, making his 8th IRL appearance. The race tonight includes a battle among engine and chassis manufacturers and tire companies. And here at Texas, the front straightaway 2,250 feet with a 5-degree bank. The backstretch only 1,330 feet with a 5-degree bank. And they have changed the turns. They used to be dual banked. 8 degrees on the low end and 24 on the high end. That's all been changed. All of the corners, all 4 of them, banked 24 degrees and adding 7 feet of width to the racing surface.
Well, and what they did, Mike, is improve the transitions as you exit the turns, and that's where the drivers are really happy with. I think they're going to see some exciting races. The real key is the 2 dog legs on the front straightaway that could present some problems.
26 Auroras, 2 Infinities, Yaley and Miller in the engine department, 15 Dallara chassis, 11 G-Force, and 2 of the most recent entry, Riley and Scott. The tire battle, close to even up. 12 Firestone shod cars and 16 on Goodyear tires.
The Infinity have closed the gap tremendously with the Aurora, and it didn't show up in qualifying, but in some of the practice times, a lot of guys had their eyes open. They have gained some horsepower with that Infinity.
Getting set for green here in Texas. Sam Schmidt headed for the pit lane. Number 99. Race record Ari Leyendijk last year, 133.9. 28 cars will start tonight. 208 laps, 500 kilometers. And here they come.
Spin down on the start. Billy Rowe.
And a smoker in turn 1. Field comes around and caution is out quickly.
Again,
pits are closed. Car 1's your leader. Hang on, car there in turn 3.
That's race command, trying to let the drivers know that the pits are closed. Billy got the thing fired back up. Again, it's a night race. Tires might be cold, Mike, and that could have caused some of this problem.
Not the first time we've seen it. There's Schmidt in the pit lane. Look at the back of the field.
And Billy, just under acceleration, the thing just snaps sideways on him. He jumps on the brakes hard to make sure he sees the pit wall, inside of the pit wall coming.
He could have gotten a bump from Greg Ray. Greg Ray was lined up just dead behind him.
We'll have to see it again to tell for sure, Mike, but if it does, we'll see Greg Ray in the pits shortly to correct some kind of problem if they tap.
Sam Schmidt in the pit lane on this first lap. They changed engines several times during practice here.
They've struggled a little bit all week, and again, with the budget they haven't been able to put the miles on that car that they wanted to. Billy Rowe up to speed. He's going to close up the gap. He might be vibrating a little bit. I don't know if he flat spotted those tires or not.
The Indy 500 champion, Eddie Cheever, carries our Rachel's Potato Chips onboard camera on number 51. And there is Greg Ray.
Wants to go at the line.
AT&T Wireless is the sponsor he picked up after Indy.
We can't see any damage to the nose or the front wings on that car, so maybe they did not touch. Maybe it was just Billy Rowe being a little excited at the beginning of a big race.
And now you're on board with Scott Sharp, winner at Phoenix, the Delphi Automotive Systems camera. Sitting on the engine cowling just above the air intake, and this is Scott Goodyear, the Pennzoil in-car cam.
You see the 33 on the center of the steering wheel. Again, that's a fuel indicator. When he sees that number on the dashboard, he's got to be looking for the pits.
Is that 33 pounds of pressure? Or what is that, Tom?
That's actually 33, how many gallons of fuel he's already used.
33 gallons used.
There's 35-gallon tanks that they're mandated to, and when he gets to 33, he's got to be looking for the pit entrance.
Ralph Shaheen is in Sam Schmidt's pit.
Well, Mike, they're having a problem with the electrical portion of the race car, so they're working on the battery as well as the ECU unit. They're going to change out the ECU unit, which is basically, as Tom can tell you, the brains of the system, is it not, Tom?
Well, it is. Unfortunately, some of these high-tech Indy cars, they have a lot of electronic components on it, and the little black box caused these mechanics a lot of problems.
Tough break for Sam Schmidt. As we get set for a restart, first caution for a spin on the start.
Up to third, making a good restart. Pretty good traffic back there in turns 1 and 2, where guys are trying to get themselves sorted.
Up front, Billy Boat overpassed by Ari Leyendijk in white and black.
Leyendijk didn't qualify that well, but obviously looks like he's happy with the race setup.
Tony Stewart, Ari Lyondike, Billy Vogt.
Good battle there between Buell and one of the Kelly cars.
That's Dismore. So Robbie Buell moves up a notch in that blue Johns Manville car.
Problem on the back straightaway. Bunch of cars. Back straightaway.
And wheels flying. Number 21, Roberto Guerrero. And 77, Stefan Gregoire. Remember last year here, when Guerrero touched wheels with another car and tumbled down the back straightaway. Eddie Cheever.
The Indy winner against the inside wall in the back straightaway.
And heavy damage to the left front of Cheever's car, as you see from the onboard camera.
We've got a car upside down there.
And one driver climbing out. There's Guerrero's car pinned in behind the upside down machine. I think that's Roberto climbing out.
Again, the driver's trying to help make sure there's some air to the driver underneath that thing.
And the rescue crew's quickly on the scene.
Again, big traffic. The black car gets right in the back of Stefan Gregoire.
That's Donnie Beechler. 98 Beechler.
Tires, wheels, climbing up all over everybody. These cars just, with open wheel cars, you just can't be climbing on top of each other.
Watch the black car.
Again, he's got a head of speed. He gets right into the back of Stefan Gregoire, the blue car, spins him around, drives over a wheel, and gets him upside down.
Tom, I think something happened in front of them. There, everybody is out of the car and okay.
Well, that's Beechler there in the white.
And his car was upside down.
And he's sort of dusted himself off.
Tom, I think what we're going to see, when you see Beechler run into Gregoire, watch the brake discs on Gregoire and Cheever's car. They're glowing red. They're on the brake for something ahead of them. Look at the brake on Cheever. And Gregoire.
Yeah, they've obviously either backing out of it and Beechler didn't see him.
Beechler just couldn't react quickly enough.
Not nearly as quick.
Yep. Something happened in front of them.
Exactly right, Mike. The two cars, you can see the orange cars right in front of them. They've slowed down dramatically.
Raul Boisel involved also in a grinding crash on the back straightaway that sent Donnie Beechler upside down.
Well, there's Beech right there. He's dusted himself off. He's got his helmet off. It'd be interesting to look at the helmet. If we get a shot of that helmet, see how bad he scuffed that baby up.
So we're under caution for the second time here in Texas. Pit stops among the contenders, those still running. We'll be right back with you live on TNN after this. Number 44 with the nose torn off. Let's ride with Greg Ray through this second incident.
Well, you can see him slowing down in front of him. He's just trying to dodge parts and pieces, and he got through clean, no damage.
That's Greg Ray's view as the sun sets over Fort Worth. Eddie Cheever, the Rachel's Potato Chips car, not so lucky.
Not nearly as lucky. There's Gregoire right in front of me. Eddie's got no place to go. You see, you get the whole left rear suspension wheel and everything that he just ran right over the top of. Just nothing for Eddie to do.
And there is the Beechler car, the black machine, that's been flipped back over next to Gregoire's as the safety crews continue cleanup. Vince Welch.
Sometimes one of the keys in a race is avoiding the trouble. Obviously, you saw drivers that did not avoid the trouble. Tice Carlson did. This is the right front tire. Slammed on the brakes. You see the result. His left front is the same way. He comes in, obviously doesn't have any problems as far as contact is concerned, but they came in, made the change on the tires, and he's back out. Sometimes it's better lucky than good. Ralph?
Well, you know, in the Indy Racing League, there are two ways of knowing if you have a problem with your tires. And Tony Stewart thought he had one. And he was right. You can see right here, he cut this big right rear tire down. When he went through the crash zone, he got a hole in the tire. Now, the way they knew that, you see this right here? This is a tire sensor. It tells them what the air pressure is in the tire. Tony had already radioed in. The crew already knew that tire sensor pressure right here on this computer. The crew knew exactly which tire was going flat.
Well, that's a big improvement for the safety standard of the driver. I mean, to come up with those kind of sensors, they can monitor it on the computers in the pits, and so that's a big assistance to a driver from a safety standpoint. They're a little spendy, but I think they should be mandatory on all these race cars.
Definitely a safety issue. Now there's Beechler's car being picked up. You see nose damage and, gosh, not a whole lot else. Involved in the crash, Eddie Cheever, Donnie Beechler, Stefan Gregoire. That's the blue car you see against the wall. Roberto Guerrero and Raul Boisel. Let's add J.J. Yaley to that list. You saw the nose damage on his car.
And for a car that has been upside down, that is amazing.
And there's Roberto Guerrero suffering much the same fate as he did last year when he caught a wheel and went for a tumble here down the back straightaway much later in the night. They just picked up Nokia as a sponsor on that car yesterday. New decals and now a very old car.
I don't think I want to be on that other end of that phone conversation in that pit area.
And there's Beechler's car.
Again, upside down. It doesn't look like too much damage even around the roll cage area where the thing was sliding on its head.
Let's take another look at this. Now this is behind the incident. There are the brakes all locked up.
Yeah, they've already, well, Cheever especially started to brake first. Now Gregoire slows down. Beechler doesn't see it. He's in heavy traffic. He has no place to go. He just didn't see what was happening in front of him. He climbs over the wheel. The thing now gets upside down the back straightaway. I'll guarantee you Donnie's got the brakes on, but one thing I know for sure, the brakes don't do you much good when the car's upside down.
Eddie Cheever climbs up onto the pit box because he still has a car in this race. Robbie Unser is driving his second car. Now what happened in front of them may have been Raul Boisel, because that's the other car along with J.J. Yaley that were involved in this incident, sustained damage, but we did not see them in the replay. Now there is the rest of Donnie Beechler's car. You can see how that carbon fiber monocoque is all intact, and the chassis, pretty much flyaway parts to dissipate energy.
Well, it shredded all the right side off the car, so even though it was on its head, it sheared the right side completely off.
It did its job. We'll be back to Texas after this. Texas Motor Speedway, as Raul Boisel's machine is hauled back to the garage area. Here's Vince Welch.
Well, it can be a humbling experience. One weekend, you're the Indianapolis 500 winner. 2 weeks later, you're out early at the Texas Motor Speedway. Eddie, what happened in that accident?
I don't really know. I was looking up ahead, and I saw a car hit the wall about 400 yards ahead of me, and I think it was Guerrero. He spun right across the track. Everybody started panicking because there wasn't much room to go, and everybody just ended up in one area, so it was just like a bunch of crumpled cars in one place. I was lucky that I didn't hit that bad, but there was a big tire that went flying over, so once that got by, I was okay.
Eddie Cheever pulls double duty, not only a driver, but also team owner, so now you work with Robbie Unser's group.
We've got to get him up to the front of the field now.
Disappointing day for Eddie Cheever. Over already tonight.
J.J. Yaley involved in the incident on the backstretch. J.J., what happened to you?
You know, all those guys started spinning up there in front, and there wasn't really a lot of places to go, and I got sideways and got into Boisel, and then, you know, broke the front wing, and I actually backed in the fence, and it cracked the gearbox, so, you know, I think we can get her changed. It's a shame for the Quaker State Menard car. You know, that we just put a brand new Nissan engine. It was running great. You know, we're just going to take it easy here. And, you know, a lot of guys were a little rambunctious at the start of the race. And, you know, this is a 208-lap race. And it's just a shame we're going to try to win on the first lap. But, you know, we're going to get the car back in this race and see what can happen.
Well, there's firing up the motor. How bad was the car?
The car, it broke the rear part of the gearbox. So it was leaking oil, and it bent a little bit on the right rear. So, you know, we can get her changed here. Hopefully we can get back out.
All right, grab your helmet, get going. J.J. Yaley out, but hopefully back in, Mike.
Thanks, Ralph. And Tom, that's one of the safety improvements this year, is that those gearboxes, the design of them has been changed. So now they're designed to crack in those collisions again to help dissipate energy.
Yeah, they've really done a great job of dissipating the energy and not getting to the driver. But it was interesting to hear J.J. talk. Here's a rookie talking about other drivers in front of him causing problems, getting a little rambunctious early in the race. And, you know, when the racetrack has this much grip and the cars feel so good to them, these guys get racy in a hurry. And again, one of the big keys for trying to qualify up front. If something happens, you're going to be in front of the accident instead of in the middle of it. And it catches some of these guys out.
JJ's a busy boy. Tomorrow he'll run the USAC Silver Crown race at Memphis Motorsports Park. Jason McCord qualified for him this afternoon, so he'll start in the back up there tomorrow. Eddie Cheever, the Indy 500 champion, the car on its way to the garage, and us on the way to commercial. We'll be right back. The sun sets in West Texas, and the lights come ablaze. Here at Texas Motor Speedway, Ari Lyondike has led the last 7 laps. Tony Stewart led the first 7 and pitted for a tire deflating.
Well, a lot of debris out there, Mike. With that kind of accident, there's just so much debris, and as they go by even slow, they can. It's hard to avoid all the trouble.
Vince Welch is with Roberto Guerrero.
Roberto, what happened? Were you at the head of that?
Yes, I'm the one that created it. Coming out of 2, I got loose, and that was it. I don't know what happened. Just got loose, and I'm afraid that's why I got all the other guys in trouble.
We saw Billy Rose spin on the initial lap as well. Is it a problem with the tires warming up, or what may be the cause?
No, I mean, the tires really is not a problem with the tires being warm. It's just, it's the usual. I mean, with him, I don't know what happened, but I assume he maybe just got on the power a little bit too hard to start with. And mine just got loose. It happens. I don't know what happened.
Tough way to go for Roberto Guerrero here to start things off. Mike, upstairs to you.
Thanks, Vince. But actually, I think what happens with Roberto, these guys have been working all weekend to try to free the car up, to try to get more speed. They've got to free the car up. They've actually had too much bind in the car, too much wedge-like, if you were talking to stock car traffic. But and they keep trying to loosen the car up till it frees it up in the corner. And maybe they just went a little too far in the adjustment for Roberto.
Further look at the replay. Looked like somebody may have brushed the wall up ahead of that group of cars. Ari Leyendijk, winner a year ago here in Texas, he goes to the lead, and he is shooting for an extra bonus of $100,000. And Billy Bob, Ari got a new cowboy hat, new pair of boots, and some two-step lessons to help announce the Texas two-step. True Value, along with Pep Boys and the Indy Racing League, will award the Texas two-step $100,000 to the driver who scores the most points in the 2 races at this track. Tonight, and the Lone Star 500K September 20th, $50,000 to the driver who scores the second most points. So, pretty good bonus to shoot for.
A great bonus, and Ari actually had some rhythm for a guy like him. I've been to his house, and I don't remember hearing any country and western CDs over there.
Tony Stewart is back in. The pole sitter will make his second pit stop. He surrenders 11th place in the process. Stan Waddles is also on pit road. They're going to top him off. Ralph?
Mike, they just brought Tony Stewart in just to top the fuel off in the car, and they'll be all set to go when they go back to green. Now we've done 16 laps under yellow. They figured top him off and get him ready.
At lap 7, Buddy Lazier, Alessio Salazar, Stan Waddles, all made pit stops along with Stewart. And J.J. Yaley's car still sits in the pit lane. Here's Vince.
Gregoire opened up the season with a pair of 4th-place finishes at Orlando and also Phoenix. Ran well at Indianapolis a couple of weeks ago, but a quick night tonight, Stefan. What happened out there in that accident?
A crash in front of me, and you know, when you are behind a crash like that, I saw it immediately. I tried to brake, and somebody hit me in the back, and so I was completely out of control at that moment. I lost my car fan because I got hit, and I was just waiting for this crash to stop. I'm so happy to be okay, but you know, it's a shame. I think Roberto lost his car, but it's just bad luck racing. But I would like to thank I'm very, very sorry for my team, Chastain Motorsports, and my sponsor, Blue Star Batteries. So it's racing, unfortunately, so we need to regroup and look for the next race.
Wrong place at the wrong time.
So the Blue Star battery machine is out, Gregoire, and we're back under green.
Well, we saw a pretty good shot of Buddy Lazier going through traffic there while we were listening to Stefan, but some good racing here for the back of the pack.
Leyendijk, your leader, Billy Boat, Robbie Buell. Tight traffic here in Texas.
That's Robbie Unser down in the blue car with the orange helmet. And there's Kenny Breck in one of Foyt's cars who didn't qualify that well. They thought they had a bad motor. And here comes Stewart all the way from the back of the pack.
This battle is at 10th place.
It was really pretty smart of the Menard team to top off Tony at that time. He was the back of the longest line, and it really didn't hurt him to come in and onboard that fuel. It's going to give him a few more laps in the window.
For the lead, Billy Boat has caught Ari Leyendijk. Remember these two from 1 year ago at this racetrack.
Well, they had a battle both during the race and in victory lane afterwards.
told the Dallas paper here that race was the good, the bad, and the ugly. Lyondike ending up the winner after a soaring recheck. Vogt had taken the checkered flag and finished second. Vogt to the inside for the lead, and Lyondike gives him room. They talked a lot about this in the drivers' meeting, Tom. The need of each driver to respect the position of each other on the racetrack and give enough room to race.
Well, they didn't do a very good job of that early in the race, but here they are. Billy was a little quicker. He ran up on the back of him, took some of the air off the back of Ari's car. It caused Ari to wash up a little bit and gave Vogt the inside line to get by.
Billy Vogt has led in 7 of his 10 starts in the Pep Boys Indy Racing League.
Well, the pole sitter in Indy, and obviously second quick here, so, you know, he's got a good race car, and he's gone right to the front.
He's pulling out a little advantage on Lyondike.
Yeah, but not as bad as I suspected. You know, it's just that early. Here we go back to the third spot here.
Dismore, Mark Dismore in red, white, and black. Robbie Buell in blue.
One of the Kelly cars, the red and white car, and Robbie Buell, the Menard car.
Remember when at the top of the show, Tony Stewart told Ralph Shaheen the car was good with a full load of fuel? Stewart's last lap, 226.7 miles per hour.
Well, that's amazing. A lot of these guys in practice actually ran faster with a full load of fuel than they did in their qualifying trim.
And right behind them, the battle for 4th and 5th. And look who's in it.
Well, we got Goodyear in the yellow car.
Scott Sharp just ahead in red, yellow, and black. And Scott Goodyear, and then Stewart will be on this pack in a moment. Tony Stewart restarted 19th.
This is on board Sharp's car up back of the Delphi car. Goodyear right behind him.
Listen to that engine, Tom. He never cracks the throttle.
No, it's fun to listen to, and it's fun from a driver's standpoint. It sort of makes your job easy when you just hold that pedal flat down. And look, there's just no pitch, and it doesn't sound like it's scrubbing much because you don't see hardly a different tone. But there's Stewart already up by. It didn't take him long to get by Goodyear.
6th place for Tony Stewart. In the Glidden Menards car, here he comes. Oh! Scott Sharp came up. Stewart was there. Last lap for Stewart, 226.4. That is flying.
Well, the good thing when you have that big an advantage on the competition, you can pick and choose your spot. You don't have to force the issue. And he just drove around the outside of it.
I saw Scott Sharp reach with his left hand either for a sway bar or a weight adjustment.
Yeah, they have controls on board the car, unlike the NASCAR cars, where they can't do anything inside the car until they get to the pit stop. Here, we got a lot of adjustments that they can make to affect the handling of the car.
Billy Vogt has been caught by Ari Lyondike as they work race traffic. Ralph?
Mike, Billy Vogt and Tony Stewart had been matching lap speeds there. Both of them clicking out 224-mile-an-hour laps. So Vogt is right in there. They are now definitely running faster than they qualified in Billy Vogt's car.
And a tight pack here.
Looks like a trophy dash at 210 miles an hour.
Weaving through traffic. Billy Vogt, that dark green Conseco car of A.J. Foyt.
That's Stan Waddles right behind him, who just went a lap down, but Lyondike, because of traffic, has been able to close the gap slightly.
Moving underneath, Tice Carlson in the 81. Steve Kinzer, originally slated for that car, not here. So Carlson awarded the ride for the weekend.
There's a pad. There's Goodyear underneath Sharp. So Scotty's looking for a spot on the inside of Sharp. Inside Greg Ray's car here.
Scott Sharp predicted we'd see 3 wide racing tonight.
This is out of back of Goodyear's car. You can see Greg Ray right there.
At Indy, Greg Ray had $100 bills and business cards taped to the side of his car until race morning when they had to spend them. Here he's picked up a big sponsor, AT&T Wireless, for this race and hopes to carry them all season. And we almost had that 3 wide racing we spoke of.
Well, there's plenty of traffic and plenty of great racing that we're watching. Again, out back of the Goodyear car. Greg Ray, listen to the motor. It won't change too much pitch. And you can see the
car in the wall, turn 1. And that'll be Salazar. In one of the Reebok cars, Alessio Salazar, the former IMSA champion.
Car 11.
And he comes to a halt.
Car, if you want to hold off,
up by the wall.
Car, just wait on him.
Billy Boat flashes by.
Car, hold up, wait on him.
And he may have lost an engine.
Well, that motor's got more ventilation in it now than it did when it started the race. I know that, Mike. Fortunately, he didn't get in any oil, or nobody else got in any problem because of his situation.
Alessio Salazar climbs out. It's a short night for him in Texas. TNN Motorsports live coverage of the True Value 500 will continue after this.
In 20 years of racing, I've had some great moments.
An upset victory.
Beauty, but in auto racing, a full moon on Saturday night means mayhem, and we've had plenty of it here in the early going. Billy Rowe spun on the start to bring out the first caution. In the backstretch, Roberto Guerrero spun in a 5-car incident. And just now, Alessio Salazar has lost an engine going into turn 1 and come to a halt at the exit of turn number 2. A lot of pit stops under this caution.
Well, that's Greg Ray back in the pits.
Okay, Greg.
All the leaders pitted on the last lap.
Bump up the clutch when you're ready. And on your way out, be mindful of the blend line. Reset your fuel, Greg. Thank you.
You heard him talking about pumping the clutch to make sure they had some fluid in there that would actually engage. Obviously, he didn't pump it hard enough.
Everybody has gone by. It's not a problem. Start it.
He'll be at the tail end of the restart order in any case. So no cause for him. 6-speed gearboxes in these cars, and unlike many forms of racing, even on oval tracks here they race using 5th and 6th gears, and not a lot of spread between them.
Well, actually, some of the teams are running 3 high gears, Mike. Because of the draft, they get a big pull, and it really causes the RPM to differentiate. So they've got most of the teams have actually 3 high gears that they'll run. It was interesting to see how calm the crew was. So they killed the motor. They knew it wasn't any big deal, and they kept their heads on their shoulders, and that's real important under pressure.
There's Sam Schmidt back in the race. He had electrical problems at the start of the day. Just to the left of Ari Leyendijk, trying to blend in. Schmidt coming back into the pits this time. Picked up some Best Western sponsorship. Hopes to keep them for the season. Arnett Sunglasses among the backers of Sam Schmidt's effort.
Well, their day didn't start well, and it doesn't appear as though it's going that much better right now.
Here's the guy who's had a meteoric rise. In 1992, he started out in the Spec Racer class of SCCA amateur racing. 6 years later, he's running the Indy 500.
He was quick in Indy, too, and he got caught up in an accident at the speedway.
Ralph?
Well, Mike, they got the electrical problem all fixed on Schmidt. They just brought him back in now to top him off the field. They're set to try to get back into contention with a win here.
Well, he's 27 laps back, according to our unofficial rundown. Now, during pit stops, there's Tony Stewart's pit.
Well, you can see it's real tight down there, and again, Tony runs over the wheel. The right rear was sitting out there.
Yeah, that was sitting out from the 6 car of Davey Hamilton, just there in front of Tony. Watch Tony's yellow car pull out. That was the wheel that came off Hamilton's car. It had been set there by the tire changer, and Tony kind of slap shots it right back into the guy and then out into the pit lane.
Well, he did. The good news is, though, he hasn't come back into the pit, so maybe they think they got away with that situation.
Ralph Shaheen.
Well, we're down in Billy Boat's pit where A.J. Foyt is the owner of the car. He's talking crew chief Craig Baranowski right now about the last pit stop. Mike, when they came in, they got the air jack in a little bit slow, and that cost them a real slow pit stop. Let's see if we can get up here and talk to A.J. Boy, you guys are running a lot faster than you qualified, A.J. Where'd the speed come from?
Well, actually, yesterday I had the car a little bit too tight for him qualifying, and we
We're just playing our game plan. We're not trying to run fast. We can, I think, run a little bit faster, but right now everything's looking good. It's got a long ways to go.
How much of these yellow flags early on going to affect your pit strategy tonight?
Well, we're going for 5 stops now. I'm not going to take more chance to run out of fuel.
All right, there you go. A.J. Foyt and Billy Boat's crew. Mike, they are now going to line up the 11 car in 6th position after, like I said, problems with the air jack, getting the car up in the air, slowed him down a little bit. He came out a little bit farther back than he wanted to.
Well, AJ's having a little laugh on himself, Tom, for what happened at Indy.
Yeah, he was. They ran him out of fuel there, and he tried to take it out on the computer system, but AJ is going to be a little more conservative here, and I actually think AJ's still driving these cars. He's just setting somebody else in the seat to steer them.
The 10 car has a new driver. John Paul Jr. has assumed that ride, replacing Mike Croft. Here's Vince.
John Paul Jr. started out the season with PDM Racing. He ran the Indianapolis 500 for Team Pelfrey, got bumped out of that ride, and now he's here at when Team Pelfrey decided not to put John Paul in. John Paul jumped over to Jonathan Bird, Bryant Heating and Cooling. He's running very well, very consistent, right where he started in 12th. He started on the outside of row 6. He's currently running in 12th position. It's his first race with Bird, and it's also his first race in a G-Force, something he was a little bit apprehensive about, but he stepped into the car running very well in the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems machine. Their team very happy with John Paul's performance here in the early going at the Texas Motor Speedway.
He was an IMSA Sports Car champion, and he's a very, very capable IndyCar driver. You'll see that name on the victory list, I think, before too long. TNN Motorsports live coverage from Texas Motor Speedway will continue after this. Texas Motor Speedway, Sam Schmidt. I said 27 laps down. I was incorrect. He had completed 27 laps and was 10 laps down, but the electrical gremlins continue to take their toll on Schmidt's car, which rolls to a halt. There is Salazar's machine, the Reebok car, rolled back to the garage area. And Tony Stewart, as a result of that incident that we replayed, where he pulled out of his pit and the tire bumped into one of Davey Hamilton's tire changers, will get a black flag. There are 3 types of black flag penalties that can be assessed, and Tony will get the middle of the 3 severities. Here's another look at it.
Again, you know, it's a question mark whether they got. Now the tire looks tight to the back of Hamilton's car, and Tony's just too close to it. This is where the right side tire changers need to keep the cheeks tucked in a little bit.
Eliseo Salazar is the driver who brought out that last caution. Ralph's with him.
Mikey has made his way back to the garage area. What happened to your engine? We saw it let go.
Yeah, I started to slow down, you know, exiting 4, and then it blew in the middle of the straight, and I just went high, you know, trying to avoid spinning because of the oil.
Eliseo Salazar out of the race tonight, Mike.
Short day for the Chilean, who is another sports car champion who's made his way to the Pep Boys Indy Racing League.
Well, he's really into the physical training part of this gig, and he's actually got some guy that works in all the astronauts out of NASA working with him, and but today he didn't need that conditioning.
No. The second-place driver has a famous racing name, Unser. Vince has more.
Well, Eddie Cheever's out of the race, but now he's keeping an eye on his rookie driver, Robbie Unser, one of 3 rookies in the field. Only problem he's had at this point, he flat-spotted a tire during one of the accidents, avoiding the trouble. But other than that, it has been a smooth run for Robbie Unser. They've made no major adjustments to the car. They just communicated with him on the radio to work off the stickers off the tire, because the car's running much better once the tires get scrubbed in. So it's been a good run for Robbie Unser. Of course, he had an impressive day at Indianapolis 2 weeks ago and has moved to the front quickly here this evening.
Vince are playing for track position. Robbie Unser and Ari Lyondike did not pit under this caution. Neither did Stan Waddles, who was 1 lap down, nor did Billy Rowe. We're under caution here in Texas. We'll be right back. And he's had to come from the back once. Tom Sneva, he'll have to come from the back again.
Well, he's got the car to do it right now if he can just dodge the bullets that are happening in front of him. I mean, as long as nobody shoots any blanks, he'll be all right.
Sam Schmidt once again on pit road, and again the cover comes off the left side. Electronics. And a stop-and-go penalty. Watch at the bottom of your screen the yellow car trying to pull out. Pings that tire, bouncing out in the pit lane, and that's a result of, as we said, there's 3 kind of penalties The medium severity one is the stop-and-go penalty. That's what Stewart got.
Flag.
We're back under green.
Well, Stewart sort of got bogged up. You can see him coming through the trial. A lot of guys got a run on him right there. He got stuck sort of in traffic. Now it's cleared. He gets on the outside, and the car is just really handling up there for him.
Heavy pack racing right in the middle. There's Billy Boat coming up on the outside of second place. Or rather make that Unser, who's been kicked back to third by Scott Goodyear. Riding with Scott Sharp in seventh place.
You hear him just lift a little bit there. I don't know if he grabbed a gear or something getting into the corner.
Unser has Billy Boat all over him. Boat dives to the inside.
That's Buddy Lazier, the purple car on the outside with the green wings, sort of just, again, trying to get through traffic. He was sort of the back of that pack, and
now Lazier went a lap down under the green flag run just before the Salazar caution. Now here is Sharp. That is Unser just ahead.
And again, you notice his right hand. He was reaching over to the gear lever situation. When they're in the draft, they have to change the gear because they pull so many more RPMs, they get the rev limit. Right behind Robbie Unser at this point.
Robbie's got a real wide car right there, doesn't he?
I don't know if it's moving around or he's just, I think he's got his hands full a little bit, but again, you can hear the engine not change pitch. They run a lot of pedal around this place.
Now I'm watching the speedometer, or the display on Scott Sharp's car, and it almost looks like a speedometer.
Well, actually,
the readout at the bottom.
Yeah, they actually have about 6 or 7 different phases they can look at, and one of them is a speedometer.
205, 207.
Sure, that's it. They've got a segment in there where they can actually look at speed. A lot of guys don't like to look at that because that can scare everything all faster.
Billy Boat moves up underneath Scott Goodyear. That's third place changing hands.
Again, Billy didn't have a very good pit stop, so he had to come through some traffic.
And Tony Stewart has caught Ari Lyondike. This is for the lead. You got to admire Lyondike as far as being very cognizant of where everyone else is on the racetrack and not wanting to get caught up in anything this early in the race.
Well, it's a seasoned veteran. He's been around this place quite a long time. Not this place, but all these different racetracks with Indy-type cars, and he's using that experience. But Tony is just so quick right now. He just made that look pretty easy.
Last evening, we're standing in the garage area before the NASCAR Craftsman truck race, and Stewart says, I'm going to let somebody else set the pace in here to going.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Top speed.
Sixth place battle. The blue car is Robbie Buell. And coming up underneath, that's Davey Hamilton, the Reebok machine.
Well, Davey hasn't been qualifying that well, but he's usually real strong in the race. He was real good at Indianapolis. Behind Davey is the other Foyt car. Now that thing should be as quick as Billy Boat's. Kenny Breck, he didn't qualify that well. They thought they had a motor go away during qualifying, so they're very optimistic about the race. The orange and white car was Jeff Ward.
And here's Sharp again, chasing Unser. Has not been able to pass him. Buzz Calkins is on pit road, giving up 19th place as we watch from Scott Sharp's car. 217. Would you want to know you're going 217 miles an hour? I would not.
No thanks. But look at how little he has to move the steering wheel to get this thing around the entire racetrack. I mean, this is an oval track, but he doesn't have to move the wheel very much to get through these corners.
Tony Stewart has been caught once again by Lyondike. Perhaps he wasn't kidding last evening when he said he didn't want to set the pace.
Watch the limiter.
Well, you hear him saying, watch the limiter. That's the rev limiter. That's why they have 3 gear selections. If they get into the limiter, that's not good on the electronic components, so they need to find another gear that'll free it up, a little higher gear, so they back the RPM down and get it off that rev limiter.
Can Ari Lyondike get back in the lead? Ralph's in at 5th.
Well, I'm standing by with Skip Ball. It's crew chief. Skip, you haven't pitted yet. When you coming in?
I come out lap 58.
That's going to be in a couple of laps now. Were you going to make any changes to the car?
No, car's fine.
All right, they're going to be set to go here, Mike, in about 3 more laps.
Tom what about that strategy? Because he may have to pit under green.
Well, yeah, virtually everybody else pitted, and they elected to go on some kind of strategy where they could maybe get it done in one last stop.
2 laps. We're going to pit 2 laps.
Greg Ray battling Kenny Breck. This is for 11th place. The AT&T
2
wireless
miles an hour off your pace.
You hear the radio communication, 2 miles an hour off your pace.
And just ahead of them, Jeff Ward in 10th place.
Well, Jeff just missed that accident early in the race, but again, running real well right now.
Slow car on the bottom there.
Again, those are the spotters trying to help their drivers out.
That was the 12 of Buzz Calkins, who just came back in the race after a pit stop. Stan Waddle's pitting now. So Ward caught by Greg Ray. I thought he might be able to box him in there in traffic. Didn't happen.
Well, traffic's a big, big factor out here on these tight mile-and-a-half racetracks.
Set him up now, or this could cost us some time. Set him up.
Lyondike on pit road. There's the second place car.
Here I am, right here. Come on in.
Well, they didn't catch the green, or they didn't catch the yellow to take advantage of this situation. We'll see if their strategy pays off later.
And Jack Miller comes in right in front of them, so Lyondike has to make a sharp turn into the pit. Here's Ralph.
Chad pitting the fuel man, putting the fuel in, and that was real close with Jack Miller pitting just in front of him, Mike. As you heard Skip Ball, he's changing the right front tires. They are ready to go. They push him off, and a pretty good start completed on lap 60.
11-second pit stop for Lyondike, 80-mile-an-hour pit road speed, and now he's back into the fray, but he's lost a lot of time.
Well, and you saw him. I think Ari was a little bit surprised there when the command to go was given. I think he was thinking it was going to take longer to get fuel in that car, but they got it done in a hurry.
Tice Carlson in the pit lane. Here's Greg Ray going after Robbie Buell. 7th place.
But Greg Ray is moving up. I mean, the car is working good for him.
He's all yours, Greg. Set him up.
Pretty easy for the spotter setting up about, that's a little, he got down in the flat. He's under that white line. The track really flattens out. That can cause a lot of trouble.
Scott Sharp's view back at this battle. That's Buell in the blue car. Jeff Ward in orange and Greg Ray in black.
Well, you can see Greg can run right down in the white line and indicating the car is working very well for him.
To the bottom. He's gotten past Ward. Now he goes to work on Buell. Not this time.
Well, Buell, one of the Menard cars, obviously very, very quick. And even though he's running a little higher line, here he comes. Now he got a little run on him off the corner.
And here comes Kenny Breck into that battle. Boy, Ray's going right after Scott Sharp. That's for 6th place. Got him.
Well, Greg Ray doing a great job. If you get down, tucked in close enough to that rear wing, you can take some of the air off the back of that car. Loosen the guy up. You have to roll out of the throttle, and you just jam it on by.
You slingshot it.
Exactly.
And now look at how Greg Ray is pulling away from this pack. And let me tell you who is sailing. Billy Boat, 226.2 the last lap. For one of A.J. Foyt's cars. Vince Unser's in.
Robbie Unser with a very smooth stop. He came in, they made a tire pressure change and also put in some more wing. Unser's been running better in traffic, so they want to make sure that the car, they want to try to get it to where it runs better when he's out on the course by himself. But so far, they're really pleased with the way Robbie Unser's running. He came in on that pit stop currently in 5th spot.
Again, when they put in wing, that would be front wing, because they got plenty of rear wing, so they balance the car by adjusting the front wings only.
Scott Sharp's car is a little off. You just saw Jeff Ward go past. Here's leader Tony Stewart. Buzz Calkins making another pit stop, and Jack Miller is still in the pit. 67 laps complete under the lights in Texas. You're watching the Pep Boys Indy Racing League on TNN Motorsports. The 4th place car has crashed hard in turn 1. That's Mark Dismore being attended to by the safety workers. You see he's talking to them and appears to be okay. His teammate Scott Sharp had just stopped under green. We had mentioned Sharp was slowing. and came into the pits, replaced the tires, thought he might have had a problem with the right rear. Now, there's Sharp.
Yeah, that's
back running, but
He backed it in pretty good. Maxwell pulled it up.
Now that's Scotty telling the team what happened to Mark Dismore.
And like we say, Sharp just pitted, felt he had a problem on the right rear, and it's possible that his teammate didn't quite catch it quick enough.
We'll see. Ralph? We'll go there in a moment.
Well, the folks at Goodyear don't want us to see this tire right here, but it blistered up. This is the right rear that came off of the car of Scott Sharp. They talked about a vibration. That is why the car was slowing down. This tire, the right rear, blistered up pretty big on this car, all the way around the tire, Mike.
You know, in fairness, Ralph, I understand the concern of the Goodyear folks, but oftentimes that's not the fault of a tire, but it may be the fault of how the car is set up, that it may be putting too much wear on one tire or another.
Well, that's exactly right. Here's Billy Boat in the pits, but again, tire problems can exist based on the handling characteristics of the car, how they have it adjusted. Greg Gray in the pits.
Vince?
Hold the brake.
It'll just be tires and fuel for Greg Gray. He threw away the glass of water, or the water bottle, didn't want it, has not said much at all on the radio. They say he's very quiet when he's in the office, and he's at work right now. Greg Gray off and away, 4 tires and topping off the fuel. No chassis adjustments at all. They say he's thrilled to death with the way the car is running.
The shot we saw of Dismore's car motionless in turn 1. There was a big cut in the right rear tire, but it may have happened after Dismore hit the wall.
Well, you can see Greg sees the smoke, but not sure where the car went. Fortunately, the car went high and he was able to get underneath. Not a good place for a tire to go down on you. I mean, that's entering the corner. You've got some G-force when you hit the wall at that speed.
Tom, not certain, but it looked like the right rear was flat as it was sliding up, and there's Mark Dismore. He is okay.
Well, we're not sure. He's a little dazed, and I didn't see his glasses. He wears glasses.
He did have them on. He had them on when he was in the car, took them off to remove his helmet. Tony Stewart, again on pit road. Everybody had to drive through a bit of debris down there in turn 1, which extended around into turn 2 where the safety crew works now. Ralph?
Mike, it'll be 4 more tires and fuel. They're having trouble getting the fuel into the car. They're almost done with the tire change, and they still haven't got the fuel in. The tire change is complete now. The fueling just begins. Mike, this is going to be a horrible stop for Tony Stewart. He's shaking his head in the car. He jumps on the throttle and cooks the hides as he leaves the pit.
Well, you can see it's real close. It's almost a tie coming out of the pits, but you can see the fueler really struggling to get the nozzle hooked up to the race car, and
we saw a lot of that in Indy, Tom, where the fueler, there's such a tight tolerance between that fuel hose and the receptacle. A number of teams were having trouble just slamming that thing home and getting the fuel to flow.
Well, again, they're dry brake connectors, and they fit real tight, so you don't have any spillage, and it's a safety precaution, but you've got to be precise.
Jack Miller's car was smoking, and you know what those smoke stains will do to your teeth, so Jack has had a very extended stay in the pits and is now out of the car. The motor's broken. This caution was not a good break for this man, Ari Lyondike. He made a pit stop under the green, fell 2 laps down on the pit stop, 80 miles an hour down pit road, everybody else doing 220. So Lyondike went 2 laps down, and now all of his competitors have been able to pit under caution. So Lyondike's got a lot of work to do.
Well, he does, and they just missed the window. I mean, if they pitted just a couple laps earlier, and if they could have stretched it just a little farther, they could have caught this yellow. But now their strategy isn't looking as smart as it once did.
Tell who looks pretty smart right now, Billy Boat. Driving for A.J. Foyt, outside pole sitter, and leading this race. You're watching the True Value 500 from Texas Motor Speedway on TNN Motorsports. TNN Motor Madness, it's the ultimate endurance race. It's a This is not the fight for the remote control at your house. It's the Dixie Crash Fest Demolition Derby live Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on TNN Motor Madness. And a little bit of Demolition Derby tonight, Tom Sneva. Here in Texas.
No question about it. I mean, it's a fast racetrack, and small mistakes are magnified at the speeds these guys are running.
Dr. Jack Miller's car being pushed off to the garage area, where he'll join Donnie Beetzer, Raul Boisel. Here's the 28 car of Mark Dismore. Eddie Cheever's out of the race. Stefan Gregoire, Roberto Guerrero, Alessio Salazar, Jack Miller, J.J. Yaley. And here's Ralph.
Well, I'm standing by with team manager Larry Curry for Tony Stewart's car. They're getting ready to bring him back in. apparently something is not right with the car on that last pit stop. Let's see if I can get a word with him. Larry, what's Tony saying to you?
Well, we put a set of stickers on, and he says the thing just don't feel right, so we're going to bring it in and just make sure all the wheels are tight and rattle the suspension around, make sure we don't have a problem.
At 226 miles an hour, Mike, the last thing you want is a problem with the way the car handles.
That's for sure. Tony Stewart will go back out, and again, he'll have to come from the back to the front one more time.
Well, he's done that a couple times today, but you've got to make sure the car is in one piece. And
here's the vision, yeah, the Visionaire, number 10 of John Paul Jr. Going to get a toe in on the back straightaway. Trouble there. And Stewart back on pit road.
Get it on the mark.
Ralph?
On the mark.
Mike, they're going to bring Tony down. He'll come to a slow stop right in the box area here. He hits the marks perfectly. The crew will take all 4 tires off the car, and the engine died. The engine has stalled on Tony Stewart's car.
Everybody just settle down. Settle down.
Larry Curry trying to get the crew to settle down. They get him back out. They fired the engine back up. Everybody checked the tires.
All the wheels are tight.
They checked all the tires. Everything was tight. They even shook everything. And everything sits good, but then he stalled the engine. Tony back on the track now.
Well, sometimes that can be a comfort to know that at least the tires, wheels are tight, but a lot of times that doesn't cure the problem that he has, and he won't know until he gets the thing up to speed.
Tough break and frustrating there for John Paul Jr. Apparently they're not able to tow that car and bring the Visionaire machine back around to pit road. Let's check with Vince back behind the wall. Vince?
Dr. Jack Miller was one of the fastest cars in the top 10 the first day of practice here and narrowly escaped an early race accident. But Jack, I understand that escape is one of the things that caused you problems with the motor here eventually.
Yeah, well, I think we hurt the gearbox initially. When I came out of turn 2, I just saw smoke and debris and cars everywhere, and I spun the car backwards. I tried to keep it running, and sometimes when you spin these cars backwards, it'll chug the engine or the gearbox, and just didn't really run right after that. Came in to make a tire change, so we flat spotted the tires and then couldn't get the thing to go in gear very well. And then I went from 4th to 5th out there and couldn't get 5th gear. So we fought the gearbox problems, and then the engine caught on fire because I think it was loading up some backfire. But it's a shame because that Nissan is there and we're ready to fight.
One of the 2 Nissans out of the race, J.J. Yaley, still trying to keep up the good work for the Nissan company. Thank you, Jack.
Yeah, JJ's back in the race. His repairs took 38 laps. He's back in and currently posted in 20th place. There is Mark Dismore's car being loaded back into the garage area. We're under caution here at Texas Motor Speedway in the True Value 500. You're watching it live on TNN Motorsports.
Teamwork and build.
Where we've restarted with Scott Goodyear in the lead and Billy Boat closing fast. So is Jeff Ward in that white and orange car. Mike Joy with Tom Sneva, and we're joined by Eddie Cheever. Glad you could join us. Sorry you had to. You should be down there.
I'd much rather be down there. It's a lot more fun, believe me.
Got a couple of your drivers, ex-drivers and drivers in this pack of cars, Eddie.
I do, yes. Robbie's doing a heck of a job. This is a great course to race on. You have so much room. You can take so many different lines, and it's like one big aerodynamic train out there. So if you get out of it, it's almost like being at Daytona in NASCAR.
You can see there's the battle for the lead with Goodyear and Boat. Right in front, though, is Eddie's other car, and he's trying to keep from going another lap down. He's running about as quick as the leaders, but they're ganging up on him right now, Eddie.
The problem is when you're in front, he's just far enough behind that he can't get a tow from the cars ahead of him. So if they gang up on him, you have no choice but to be passed. And as you can see, you don't just get passed by 1, you get passed by about 4. So he's doing everything he can not to go lap down. You never know, there might be another yellow. He can pick up that lap that he...
Well, what might help him if Boat and Goodyear keep running side by side, they don't get as big a tow on him, but he's got his hands full right now.
Billy Boat, that dark green car in the bottom of the racetrack.
Well, and Kenny Brett, the white car, about 4 back, he's right there. So they've got him stacked up right now.
Now, if Unser can catch Scott Sharp, that's for position. But here goes Boat to the bottom.
Yeah, Billy got by there. He got him inside, getting into the corner. It shoveled Goodyear out, though, and look at 4 or 5 guys. Ray, Brett.
This is just like a NASCAR. He just lost all of his air. Now he's got to pick it up again. So what he'll do, he'll just get a drag from the one ahead of him and just try to run. So now you got to close that gap as quick as you can.
And guess who's coming? Last lap for Tony Stewart, 228 miles per hour.
Well, these guys are slowed up a little, and that's given Stewart a little bit of a run on him. We saw some sparks down on the inside caused by Kenny Breck clipping the dog legs on the front straightaway.
Greg Ray is the black car, the AT&T car. Here's Billy Boat.
I don't know if I can watch this. I didn't know it was that dangerous.
It's a lot worse watching than driving it, isn't it? You can hear the motors. They just don't change pitch. They got the pedal all the way down.
There was so much grip in this new track.
Sir, be careful. Brack coming low.
Again, spotters trying to help each other out to let their drivers know that there's traffic everywhere out there.
It's the banking. The banking allows you to take so many different lines, and there's so much grip out in the circuit that you can run in dirty air. Look how close over here.
Again, you get that left front down on the flat on the white line. The track loses all its super elevation, and that can upset the race car.
Now, Greg Ray in the black car with the orange helmet. He's got to get going here. He's the second-place car. He's got to get up to Billy Boat.
Well, Robbie Unser's just running fast enough. Not quite as quick as a couple of these guys, but again, you got to be quite a bit faster to try to drive around one of these guys.
And he's an Unser. Unsers are notoriously hard-headed, so he's taking his line. He's not really defending it. He's just taking a line, so I think you've got to find a way around him. Probably the best way looking at it from this point of view would be right where Greg Ray is going now, up high. So now he's picked up a run. He should start down.
You see, he thought he might have room on the outside. He had to roll out of the throttle because that gap closed up. Here's Goodyear.
And he's fallen back to 5th place. Ralph?
Kevin Blanch is the crew chief for Scott Goodyear. You've fallen all the way back to 5th. What's the story, Kevin?
We're just kind of trying to take it easy. We don't want to get in a crash. There's still a long way to go, so we're just trying to take it easy right now.
It's the strategy for Scott Goodyear right now, pacing themselves, Mike.
He's now in 6th place. Tony Stewart's gone by. That's Stewart, that neon-colored car just ahead. Whoa! Scott Sharp said we'd see 3 wide racing, and there it is.
Well, these are all the leaders. I mean, these aren't like they're passing slow cars. That's Breck and Ward. And Stewart just bonsaied him on the bottom, and that could have caught him out by a little bit of a surprise.
Let Stewart make the way for you.
93 laps in. We're not quite halfway. A little early for that kind of hijinks, maybe.
Well, you see Tony make a run on the outside, but got chopped off a little bit, had to roll out of the throttle.
Robbie Unser, he's trying to catch Scott Sharp. That is for position, 13th place. And here comes Ray on the outside again, and for the second time tonight, I got to say that Unser car is awful wide.
He's taking that Unser line now. I think he's got him.
How close is that?
A little bit too close in my case.
That's about the thickness of a potato chip between those two cars.
It's a good thing they don't make a ruffled type one. They would have touched.
You see what happens when you get out of the throttle like that. It takes you a whole lap to get back to speed. It's a very difficult circuit. It really is a lot like Daytona for us. And at Daytona they race those NASCARs open throttle all day long. And it's the same thing here. You get just out of the throttle and you're in trouble. You can see how well Menard's cars are running today. They have a really strong engine in there, and you can tell that they're just managing to get through the cars like some of them are standing still.
Well, one of them for sure, that's that yellow one we're looking at right there, has had to come to the back on more than one occasion.
Slow car, is that Kenny Breck? One car
I
very
think it was
slow
John
there.
Paul, it was a red and white car, but he was awful slow in a fast groove, and that's what the problem is.
It was John Paul, back on track in the Visionaire car. And they're moving around Buzz Calkins, the red car. And let's get an update on Greg Ray. Here's Vince.
They're really happy with the way Greg Ray's running at this point. The one complaint they did have, and I know you've got Eddie Cheever up there in the booth, is that they didn't think Unser was getting out of the way for him the way that they hoped that he would. So other than trying to get around Robbie Unser, everything is fine in the Greg Ray camp. They're thrilled with the way the car's running. This kid has run fast everywhere he's been. He's doing it again right here in his home state of Texas.
Billy Boat, Ari Lyondike. Remember Lyondike with that 4 pit stop strategy, made a stop under green and went 2 laps down. Then the caution came out and everyone else pitted. So Lyondike is trying to get one of those laps back.
Both Lyondike and Eddie's other car, Robbie Unser, tried that strategy again. It might work out. We'll have to wait till later in the race to find out. See if this next window, if these guys with the short window are going to have to stop under the green, and you guys will be back where you need to be.
You can never tell, but it is really a question of rolling the dice, because if you get it just right and the yellow comes out with running out of fuel, you have then picked up a big advantage, probably a lap and a half. And with the pits being closed now under yellows, you can't make a run back to the pits. So everybody just groups up again. That's why the fields are so competitive in all these race cars.
Well, it's been a great thing for the show and safety reasons. Before we closed the pits, the drivers were actually forced to race under the yellow to try to get in and out of the pits. And not a good thing. And the yellow's out there because we've got a problem. And we need the cars to slow down.
Third place battle. Billy Boat, Tony Stewart, right up there on Greg Ray. And here's Jeff Ward, Kenny Breck. They're battling for fourth place.
Well, there's just so many good races going on out here. We can only show you one at a time, but it's fun to watch.
Breck lined up on Jeff Ward, looking low.
Well, this is the other Foyt car that was sort of a sleeper. He didn't qualify that well. We mentioned they thought they had a motor problem, but they felt that after they changed the motor that they would be competitive. Oh, Ward way high.
Way high, and he's leaving some rubber marks. Did you see that down on the right-hand side?
And for the lead, Tony Stewart. And the Glidden's Menard machine has caught Billy Boat. Conseco entry for A.J. Foyt.
I'm not sure what Tony was feeling. You know, he's real concerned. He had a little vibration, whatever. I don't know if that could be a tire situation or not, but it's obviously not slowing him down too much.
Halfway. Let's go to the leader's pit, Ralph.
Mike, the story down here in A.J. Foyt's pit with Billy Boat is everything is exactly the same. They have made no changes to that car since the beginning of the race. They think they've got a phenomenal race car, and from the way it's performing, it sure looks like they do.
Scott Sharp is in for an unscheduled stop. He was in just prior to the caution for his teammate Mark Dismore. And 4 new Goodyears going on Sharp's machine. A hello to Jim Kelly, 80 years old, patriarch of that team, and watching from home. Happy birthday.
If I was in Stewart's place right now, I would just let Billy Boat work the traffic for him. He knows he has a faster car. Just let him get through all of that. He cleans all the air for him. I mean, it is obviously not on Stewart's. It doesn't look to me like he's that much of a waiter right now.
Well, the problem is there's traffic everywhere. I mean, he might be able to help him get through this segment of traffic, but you know, there's traffic all over this racetrack. And
but when you're running behind a car like that, if you're actually quicker than him, you can probably even save a little bit of fuel. You can save the car a little bit. That way, the last 50 laps, you have something strong under you. But Stewart knows only one way, and that's absolutely as fast as he can go every lap. And you can see it today. He's really on a roll.
Somebody came up to Tony in the hauler last evening, said, I'm looking for Tony Stewart. Battle there for fourth place as Kenny Breck goes by. Tony says, well, that's me. He says, my driver has mono. Can you come drive my truck? And all the guys on his IndyCar team are shaking their head, no, please. And so Tony sat that one out, but he does have a knack when he goes and visits a racetrack for bringing his helmet with him. He loves to race.
He does, and he races everywhere. I mean, I'm sure you can see him down in the hotel lobby doing electronic games until about 3 o'clock in the morning.
But in Tony's defense, he's gotten a lot wiser in the last year or so. I mean, he, like Eddie said, he goes hard every lap, but he is starting to use his head a lot more than he did the first year or two he was in IndyCars.
Oh, he's led 31 laps tonight. Billy Boat has led 43 laps. Ari Lyondike and Scott Goodyear have also led this evening. You're watching the True Value 500 live on TNN Motorsports. Whoops. 111 laps complete. Billy Boat leads Tony Stewart. Stewart right in his tire tracks.
Well, he's been there about the last 5 or 6 laps, Mike. He was able to catch him, but he hasn't been able to do anything with him once he got to him.
Well, the problem is if you're about the same speed, when you pull out of the toe, you're running into a big wall of air, so that the car in front of you is no longer cleaning all the air for you. So he's got to find just the right moment coming off the corner. And I assure you, these two drivers have not taken their foot off the throttle for the last 50 laps.
Ralph, Tony Stewart had been running 226, 227 miles an hour. He's dropped it back just a tick or two, 225 that last lap, Ralph.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Mike. And Eddie Cheever is correct, because if you look at the clocks, the times for Billy Boat are exactly the same. But one of the reasons why Tony Stewart is so strong here this, Mike, is Larry Curry told me earlier in the weekend, he said, we made a big mistake at Indy by performing as badly as we did. But the rest of the competition made a huge mistake by leaving us in the game. They came into this race as a points leader. They are determined to win this championship, to make up for their poor performance at Indy. In fact, the crew thought that 225-mile-an-hour lap yesterday by Stewart was Tony making a statement to the rest of the field. He's serious.
Second green flag pit stop of the night for Arie Luyendyk. Vince?
Arie Luyendyk has just come in for another pit stop, and it's been a bad way for Arie as far as pit stops are concerned. His previous pit stop, he'd come in under the green, and as soon as they went out, the yellow came out. So they just missed the yellow that time. Had to come in around this time again, changed the tires, topped off the fuel. No adjustments to the car. They really like the way the car is running, but they just can't time the pit stops to their advantage.
Last year in this race, it was a winning strategy for Luyendyk.
Well, that's a little unusual, though. He should have been able to go farther than that on this window because, again, he stopped under the green. So, again, he got caught out again, and I'm not sure if that was scheduled or not.
No, but then everybody came in on the caution that followed. So they have a little more fuel load than Luyendyk.
Due to the aerodynamic regulations that they have now, normally at Indy you could be tuning your car and taking a lot of rear wing out of it. Here you're stuck. The rear wing is in a position that has so much drag in it. So this really has become a horsepower race, and there's really very little you can do to improve your car in the run.
We talked about that earlier. Some of the teams attempting to disguise that rear wing from the air in front of them to reduce that drag. I don't know if you've noticed, Eddie, but some of the cars actually have a wicker bill that sticks down off the back that faces to the ground off the end of the rear wing. Have you seen some of the cars doing that?
We're one of them. That's reverse engineering. You're trying to destroy your rear wing. That rear wing really is just an enormous billboard. They've tried to make the car safe, and they have done that. But with all that downforce and all this new grip on this great circuit that they've done, there's just too much grip out there. So it really has become just a question of horsepower. Who has more horsepower and whose engine will last the longer?
Eddie, the NASCAR drivers were very critical of the layout here. The transition, especially off turn 4 from the 24-degree banking, began way back up in the corner, and the cars would unload on their suspension, and there was a lot of criticism. What's this racetrack like now?
Well, I enjoyed this racetrack last year. Obviously, they've made a lot of improvements to it, but you have to understand that our cars just got by him. They just got by him.
Finally, it made it look pretty easy. I don't know if they're looking at pit stops. Yeah, both coming in.
So Tony Stewart went past Billy Boat, and he did, Tom, what he told us last night. He was going to let somebody else set the pace for a while. Billy Boat set the pace when Boat dropped off the racetrack to pit. And there is Robbie Buell.
And that last radio communication was for Stewart, so Stewart will be in this next lap.
Vince?
Greg Gray in at the pits right now, and as you mentioned, Greg Gray currently was running in the top 5. They've come in, they've topped off the fuel, made a tire change, no chassis adjustments at all. Now down off the jacks and away. A good stop, the crew cheering as Greg Gray burns them and spins away.
Ralph? We'll get to Ralph in a moment. Billy Boat, the race leader, making his stop. 4 tires, fuel going in, taking a bit of time. Now Boat leaves the pits as Tony Stewart rolls in.
That's Larry Curry.
Keep this car in 5th gear if I have to get on the gas. I cannot do it.
Stewart shaking his head back and forth there as he tells the crew.
Well, the left rear guy went to get the start.
Go. 11.6 seconds to stop for Stewart. And the new leader is that orange and white machine of Jeff Ward. The number 35. The ISM racing car. His teammate Jim Guthrie on the men from Indy and next door to our booth doing radio commentary for tonight's race. Ward will pit, so will Buddy Lazier.
This is actually one of the most difficult parts of this track, coming off the banking and making it around the pits, because you can lose, in that quarter of a mile, you can lose 10 to 15 seconds, but if you stand on the throttle a little bit too much, I almost lost it yesterday trying to see what the limit was, so I thought it would be a much better idea to back off a little bit.
Well, the entry is a lot flatter, and so you obviously don't have that grip, huh?
And it's dusty, and it's really dusty, but it is part of, once that green flag drops at the start of the race, all time equals the same, whether you're in a corner or coming in or out the pits.
Buddy Lazier finishes his stop. And the Delta Fawcett Hemmelgarn machine. Jeff Ward and Ralph had a look at that stop.
Mike, this was the 3rd stop for Jeff Ward. They've done nothing but take on tires and fuel, and that's exactly what they did this time.
Scott Goodyear pitted the Pennzoil car right behind Ward. So most of the leaders have now made their stop in this sequence.
what's interesting, this time of the race, it actually should take longer to fuel the car than it does to get their tires on. And we've seen a couple of these guys struggle with tires, and they actually had to wait on tires rather than fuel to get out of the pit.
To our P1.
That P1 means position 1. Tony Stewart has started tonight's race on the pole. Has once again risen to the top of the order. We'll be right back. Welcome back to TNN Motorsports coverage of the Pep Boys Indy Racing League, the True Value 500 at Texas Motor Speedway tonight. Mike Joy with Tom Sneva. Eddie Cheever caught up in an accident not of his own making, has graciously joined us up here in the booth. Ralph Shaheen and Vince Welch are down on pit road. Tony Stewart, your leader, that bright yellow machine. Moving past the Unser car and looking now for the second place car of Billy Boat, who just a minute ago was right on the wing of our leader Stewart, and now has to pick his way through traffic.
Well, Tony cleared the traffic pretty well. He just got around Davey Hamilton right there, and now it's Boat's turn to try to fish his way through this mess.
At the top of the show, we mentioned 3 winners in 3 races the first year of IRL, 9 winners in 10 races the next year, 3 winners in 3 races this year, and of the top 7 drivers in this race right now, 6 of them have never won an IRL race.
That's not a very competitive series, is it?
It's as good as it gets. Ralph?
Mike, there's a potential problem for Tony Stewart. He has got a gearbox problem on his number 1 machine. When he lifts off the throttle, the car wants to jump out of gear. That's fine on the racetrack because they're running flat out. But every time he makes a pit stop, that's going to be crucial. Remember, we saw him kill the engine earlier on one of his earlier pit stops. That could be a big problem for him as his race progresses.
He led a lot of this race here last year. The scoreboard showed Stewart on the top of the score pylon until just a couple of laps to go when he lost an engine. Where's Billy Boat, the second place car? There he is. Closing.
Billy dealing with Stewart's teammate, Robbie Buell, was able to get by.
Tony and Billy Boat really are in a class of their own in this race, aren't they? They seem to have an edge on almost everybody out there.
Well, they've got a little bit, but we've seen some guys that have been sort of stuck back in traffic. Greg Ray's been running real well. He has a little trouble getting through the traffic, but if he's clean, he's running as quick as any of these guys.
But there's so much traffic out there, that's the whole key, isn't it? Being able to get the traffic, and obviously they can do it very well.
Lady Luck rides the seesaw. Eddie Cheever, Indy 500 champion, out of the race early. And look at the 2 fellows who are leading, had no luck at all in Indianapolis. Stewart with an engine, a valve spring problem. First car out of the race at the Brickyard. Billy Boat finishing 22nd.
Well, it's real interesting. We watch the computer here a little bit, Mike, and you see when Stewart's by himself, he's running 224 laps. He gets caught in traffic. He slows down to 218, 219, 5-6 miles an hour just because of traffic.
Boat is using maybe 150 feet less track than Stewart is right now. Look at the lower line he's taking. I think he's got a faster car now.
Well, he did that qualifying, too. Billy was able to run right around the bottom of the racetrack. And he's obviously closed the gap.
Whoa, boy, Billy Boat really shaved it close on that lap car. Looking for 3rd place, and this will be Greg Ray.
Well, we're looking at the front straightaway there, and there's actually 2 dog legs, Eddie, and sometimes that can be the tightest part of this racetrack.
It really is. In fact, the 2 dog legs, I think, are the most difficult part of this racetrack when you're running in traffic, because there is no room. If you come off 2 cars off of 4, you're in big trouble because there'll be no room, so you've got to make sure nobody makes a mistake.
Billy Boat to the bottom of the racetrack, looking for the lead.
Well, I don't think it's going to jump out of gear in Stewart right now, because he's going to have his foot all the way down.
He's got him. He's got him.
Of last year, Lazier and Stewart ran side by side, and this time Stewart gives the lead without a fight. 13th lead change of the night.
Let him go. We'll save it for the end.
I let him go. All right.
It's pretty interesting. Stewart seems to be dominant the first part of the fuel load, and then towards the end, Billy Boat really comes on strong.
When I was driving for Floyd always had the ability to give me a car that was strong the last bit of the race. In fact, I've tailored my whole driving on ovals after what I learned from Floyd. He would always try to prepare you for those last 50 laps. And I would say right now that Billy Boat has probably a little edge over the Menard car.
Lapping Scott Sharp, the 11th place car. And J.J. Yalen.
Trouble.
And yellow is out.
Right. 11's your leader. Car 4
debris on the racetrack.
We got a collision with Boat and JJ. Actually, it looked like they touched wheels there in the front straightaway.
J.J. Yaley is 36 laps down, trying to get one of them back.
When you saw the graphic, last lap, 2:27. That's much quicker than they qualified, and it's obviously the quickest lap of the race.
Let's show you what happened.
Well, you can see the side of Boat's car. It's got a NASCAR donut on it. Here's Yaley and Billy. Looks like Billy came down a little bit on it.
Yep.
One of them obviously wasn't looking where they were going.
Ralph, what happened?
Mike, I don't know. AJ's down here talking to the crew. AJ, any idea what happened between Billy and JJ Yaley? Well, now they're any idea what happened between Billy and JJ Yaley?
Well, nothing I know of. Why?
Oh, they got together out on the racetrack. I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
Well, I don't know what happened.
Okay, I saw you guys well, he's listening. Apparently, you're scurrying around over here looking at something. Is something wrong with the car?
No, nothing wrong with the car. We're talking about something else.
Okay.
He don't remember hitting nothing.
Okay, well, Mike,
I believe what's happened, Ralph, I believe what's happened from listening to the in-car chatter is that Billy Boat was being told where the pace car had come out, that the yellow was out, that it was for debris, just keep your heads up. And he wasn't being told that there was J.J. Yaley right there who was trying to steam by and grab a lap back.
He should have seen that. That was I think Billy risked knocking himself out of the race there. He was probably looking at something else and not really working on that. But I'll tell you, isn't A.J. great? If it didn't exist, they'd have to invent him. I mean, the guy is a classic.
I remember a day at Nazareth, Pennsylvania, when I went up to A.J. and I said, "A.J., can you make it?" And he says, "Shh, not now. I'm trying to convince my driver he's got enough gas to finish the race."
That was
you.
Yeah, and he convinced me, but we didn't.
He's an American original.
Oh, he is great. He's probably the best guy that I have ever driven for.
No question, he's the king of psychology. I mean, when he was as a driver, I mean, he would get you thinking about things that you shouldn't be at the wrong time.
And he would act like it was nonchalant the way he did. I mean, he'd get me to do things in a race car that often I'd sit back and say, "What was it? Look at the mark on the side of his car."
Yep, we talked about that earlier. Billy had to be looking at the gauges or just relaxing and didn't see Yaley because Yaley was in front of him.
You know, there's a lot of parallels between the Pep Boys Indy Racing League and NASCAR Winston Cup. This is not supposed to be one of them.
No, that's not good.
We're under caution at Texas Motor Speedway. TNN Motorsports live coverage of the IRL continues. TNN Motorsports coverage of the True Value 500 is brought to you by Super 8 Motels, over 1,600 throughout Canada and the United States. Working the fifth caution of the night. Debris on the racetrack, but a collision as the caution came out between race leader Billy Boat and J.J. Yaley. Now, Yaley's having an extended pit stop for left side damage. They're just pushing him away, and the car does not refire.
Well, we're not sure it's because of left side damage, but he might have had some kind of problem develop before they got together.
It was his right tire that connected with Billy Boat's car. Vince?
Yeah, down here in the J.J. Yaley pit, he has killed it twice, now a third time as they try to get out. So obviously they're having some major problems. But you can see there's marks on the left side pod where you can see that he has made contact out on the race course with another car or another tire. Well, the side pod is definitely banged up, and now they're going to try to get J.J. out. Stalls it again for a fourth time, so there's problems with Yaley trying to get out of the pit.
Well, the problems were on the start of this thing was for Billy Boat. He didn't get a very good restart at all. 3 or 4 guys got by him. Greg Ray right here, right on the back of Billy Boat. So something happened to Billy on that restart.
Back coming high.
And Tony Stewart checked out. He went steaming around Billy Boat and right to the front. It's an update from Billy Boat's pit. Ralph?
Well, Mike, just after we went to break, AJ tapped me back in the shoulder. He said, "Hey, you're right. We did make contact. Look at the lettering on the side pod. Rubbed it right off." But he said, Billy said everything is okay. It was light contact. He wasn't too worried about it.
As long as that sponsor's check isn't smudged, they'll be okay.
But a great move Greg Ray did. He just hooked up right behind Billy Boat. Billy Boat just opened all the air, and he got a free ride all the way to the front.
Well, Kenny Breck, the white car, is right there also. I mean, he is faster now than any time he's been during this race.
And he's a lead lap car.
Now, here you can see what the difference is in the air. See how he picked up so much space?
Greg Ray, again, he's moved towards the front. He's as quick as any of them. Look at Billy's car wiggle there right in front of Greg Ray.
we're having to run these cars very low in the back because we're trying to get drag out of them. So when you see the cars moving around like that, you're actually trying to stall the rear wing by having the back low and the front high. And it does wiggle a bit in the corners, but these tires that we have now are so good, and there's so much grip in this new circuit that they really handle well.
Again, they're doing everything they can to disguise that rear wing from the air that's going over. Look at this.
Lyondike and Billy Vogt. Lyondike trying to get a lap back here. He is 2 laps down in that white and black machine.
Fucking guy just pushed me down.
Now, Ray's got to get by Lyondike. If he doesn't get by Lyondike, Vogt will disappear. But if he can get in his toe, he can hold him.
You heard Lyondike's guys talking about the situation that just happened. He didn't look that pleased about that. But look at that, wheel to wheel. I mean, these guys are running 220 miles an hour. I don't think they realize what row of the grandstand they could end up on by doing these kind of moves.
You know what it's like when you're in there, though.
Kenny Breck moving up. Billy Vogt, last lap, 2:26.4.
10 laps to fuel approximately.
There's Kenny Breck on the outside of Lyondike. Lyondike, as we mentioned earlier, his pit stop strategy hasn't been that well. He got down a lap or two, but Vogt is all over Stewart.
For the lead.
Vogt is in a class of his own.
Still there. Got it now.
Now, it's very frustrating if you're one of these two drivers because both of them have their foot flat on the throttle. Every car that's out there has got its foot flat on the throttle. And there's no way you can make a car go faster than flat on the throttle. So it's just a question right now of one having more power than the other.
Billy Vogt's last lap, 2:27.6. Stewart's last lap, 2:24. And again, this time by a 2.5 mile/hour split. Vogt's the fastest car on the racetrack.
But you'll see Stewart will be able to keep up the pace if he stays behind him. If he stays behind him, he'll pick up a mile to a mile and a half because Vogt will start cleaning and opening up the air in front of him.
You can see Lyondike again, one of the quicker cars in the racetrack right now.
And Greg Ray cannot get past him. Here comes Breck to the bottom. And that power team car of A.J. Foyt in white and gold and almost collects Greg Ray.
Well, Greg Ray didn't see Breck back there. He didn't even expect another car to be going as quick as he was. That was close.
And Greg Ray just came right across the bow of Kenny Breck as if to say, I didn't appreciate that. Whoa!
And you really don't want to be doing that, though. You don't want to be coming across the bows of cars because if you clip them, you'll end up not in the first row of the grandstands, but probably outside of it.
For the lead, Stewart 3 wide.
Clear all around. Clear all around.
That was a great move.
A lot of...
Take it if it's free.
And Greg Ray again with Kenny Breck. This is for third. Splits on that car.
You see Kenny Breck have to pinch that thing down and get the white car to wiggle as he got by the lap traffic?
Billy Vogt for the lead again.
Well, I think we're going to see Kenny Breck come right up here and give Stewart all he wants in a minute.
And Kenny Breck is doing 2:23.
And Greg Ray goes right back after Breck.
So this is a great battle. These two have got each other's attention right now.
Well, these two are mad at each other right now.
This is Sweden versus Texas.
And we're in Texas.
But their cars are so close that you'll find that every time one gets ahead of the other one will get a tow, and he'll make a run at him, unless they get into traffic.
And the fellow who's sitting there saying, keep it up, is that blue car, Robbie Buell. Because each time they get side by side, Robbie Buell gets closer. He is the 6th or 5th place car, and he's right there with him.
Absolutely. But Breck is kind of the guy that's making the pace right now because he is going to make Greg Ray position his car. He can actually decide where Greg Ray goes on the track. Now, you see Breck is trying to get a little bit of clean air so he can make a run off the corner. Now Breck will go down the middle again, but every time he pulls out, he's into clean air, and he's slow. Now he'll hold on. Now he doesn't have anybody cleaning the air in front of him.
Well, this is
and
great.
Here comes Ray on the outside again.
This shows you what this formula has done. I mean, these guys are going back and forth. They're running 222, 223 miles an hour.
This is great, and nobody can take the foot off the throttle. You take your foot off the throttle here, you go back about 100 yards.
You won't see open wheel racing any more competitive than you're seeing right here.
This is out of the back of Greg Ray's car.
17 lead changes so far.
And again, if Kenny can tuck up tight enough, he can take some of the air off the back of Ray's car and upset the balance of his handle.
Yeah, but they got company coming. Here comes Robbie Buell and Jeff Ward, and they are lead lap cars.
I mean, this is some good stuff.
Up front, Billy Vogt, that dark green Conseco machine. And the Glidden Menard bright yellow car of Tony Stewart. They're the leaders. Greg Ray is third. Kenny Breck is fourth. Scott Goodyear is fifth. And Jeff Ward is sixth. Robbie Buell, 7th.
They just can't get away from each other. One will get by the guy, but he can't drive away because now he's blocking the air and having to tow them both around.
163 of 208 laps complete. You're watching the Pep Boys Indy Racing League live on TNN. Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway. There's your new leader, Scott Goodyear, Billy Vogt, and Tony Stewart, and Kenny Breck and Greg Ray all made pit stops. Jeff Ward had his engine expired. Looked like he holed a piston.
The next set of tires we will give you are the same that you have. Do you want anything else?
There's Ward's car behind the wall. That's not Tabasco leaking out of the back of that. He had a great run going.
You heard him talking to Goodyear. They are changing the tires, but they need to know if he needs anything besides tires.
Well, they're going to pit him next time. Right now, Scott Goodyear and his team have everything crossed because he has a lap on the field because of all those green flag pit stops. But now as he rolls out of the throttle, everyone will come back into sequence. Billy Vogt had a good stop, so did Tony Stewart. And there's Stewart as Scott Goodyear brings the Pennzoil car toward pit road.
Now he's got to hit that speed limit button. Watch him hit the button as he goes by so he makes sure that he will stay under the 80 miles an hour. Downshift.
It's a clear.
You hear the fuel hit the engine. Yep,
he's on that limiter.
They've made these pit speeds almost idiot-proof now. You just press a button and it won't go any faster than whatever you put in the computer.
It's hard to make these things idiot-proof, but they're getting closer, aren't they?
They are.
Ralph?
Mike, they bring Scott Goodyear down pit road. Scott carrying a good luck charm today from Pope John Paul. Figures if he's going to go for luck, might as well go all the way to the top of the luck category. So far, it's working out pretty good for him. He's another good pit stop.
That's quite a person to have give you a good luck charm, isn't it?
No,
as good as it gets. Davey Hamilton comes in. He's now the 6th place car. A lap off the pace. This will put him back up into sequence up until this pit stop. He's briefly back onto the lead lap, and he'll go a lap down with this stop. 173 complete. 35 laps to run from here. But Eddie Greg Ray would have to do over 40 laps from the time of his pit stop. He and Kenny Breck would have to do, I think, 41, 42 laps.
That might be a stretch. But what's happening right now is the boat is actually pulling away from Stewart. They both left the pits in a pretty similar position, but it seems that the boat's got the speed again.
So he does. Tony struggling. Whoa, we got Stewart just blew up.
Stewart's gone.
2nd year in a row.
He better lift off. He better lift off. We're going to go up the wall. He better lift off. He better lift off.
He's in turn 3, Pete. Got stuff coming out the back.
It's Larry Curry explaining to the driver. I think the driver already knew.
It's us. The yellow's us.
He didn't even.
The yellow is you.
He didn't know it.
No, he didn't.
As he was leaving the pits earlier, we could hear him talking to his team manager, and he told him use 4th gear. They start with 6 gears in the gearbox. He must have had a problem with 5th. When you go down to 4th gear, you're going to be revving it really hard, so that's a big risk.
Well, I don't know if they had a problem with 5th, but in order to try to stay with both, they needed all they could get out of the race car. There it goes.
You can only stretch these things so far. That's what I did in Indy. I ran it in 6th gear all the way to the end. The last 20 laps, I put it in 5th, and I was holding my breath the whole time around.
He's coming toward Ralph in the pits.
Well, you know, Mike, they also had another problem with overheating on the car of Tony Stewart. So there was a couple of things that they were taking a look at as far as that car expiring the engine for Tony Stewart.
That's pretty optimistic. Larry Curry asking him to see if it's a hose. That's trying to be real optimistic.
Larry's a fighter. Larry does not give up.
Well, the whole team's a fighter.
Great oil pressure the whole
Last year here, Stewart led 100 of the 208 laps. And they had a valve spring problem, just as they had at Indianapolis this year. They lost a valve spring in that motor. Stewart was just a couple of laps from the checkered flag here last year when the engine went up.
We have such good systems of telemetry in the cars now. They can look in the pits and tell you what your crank pressure is, what your revs are, what your fuel, what your temperature is. So if they're actually looking for something, it might be something else. I doubt it, but it might be something else.
Well, you heard Larry Curry said the oil pressure was fine. So again, they're looking at the computer, the telemetry.
And the crank, and they have the crank pressure in there.
So again, yeah, you talked about pistons maybe being the weak link in some of these motors.
Well, these are engines that are revving quite high. They're a stock block V8, so there's a lot of different things you can get from them. But everybody's been looking for horsepower, and you can tell how fast a lot of these teams are going. They're so much faster than they were last year. People are finding more horsepower, but you never find something for free.
Well, that's exactly what happens. Last year they were looking for reliability. Now they've got reliability, so they start stretching them to the limits. And unfortunately, some of these guys haven't figured out where the limit is.
Second year in a row, Tony Stewart leads a lot of this race and does not make it to the checkered flag. We will when we come back with you live on TNN Motorsports. With A.J. Foyt, a scoring recheck showed that Ari Lyondike was indeed the winner of the race. Billy Vogt looking for redemption in Texas. Now, Tony Stewart is still in his car because if Larry Curry and crew can get that machine fixed and get him back out for Pep Boys IRL Championship points, they will do that. So they have not given up and retired that car as of yet.
It'll be a V7 if it goes back out the racetrack. I know that.
And shortly thereafter, a V4 and a V2.
Now, Scott Sharp is back on the lead lap. He's climbed now to 5th place with those retirements. Robbie Buell is 6th. Davey Hamilton 7th. Stewart still posted 8th. Lyondike and Unser the top 10. In a lap, we'll go racing, so quickly we'll take a pit stop on TNN Motorsports. You're watching the Pep Boys Indy Racing League live on TNN.
TNN are the fastest accelerating cars in the world. Their sheer power, speed, and ingenuity make drag racing one of America's most popular forms of motorsports. Follow the people behind these amazing race cars to every track on the NHRA Tour. Join host Steve Evans for the most complete look into the sport of drag racing on NHRA Today, Sunday at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific on TNN Motorsports.
We're back under green. 5 drivers on the lead lap. 4 of them have never won an IRL race, including these 2. That's Billy Vogt in front. Greg Ray tight in his draft.
Well, we had 3 of them side by side on that restart, Mike. We just missed it coming back from break, but Kenny Breck just about had them both. Ray gave a look down to the inside, and now they've got a little separation between these 2 back to Kenny Breck.
Yeah, that was not really that good of a move for Breck because he put his teammate kind of in jeopardy because he broke up his air and created a bit of a problem. And ever since that moment, Vogt has been working very hard trying to keep Greg Ray off him. And it looks like Greg Ray has the ability not only to run with him, but even have a shot at him.
And on the restart, the Flying Dutchman almost put one of his wooden shoes squarely against the side of Billy Vogt's car.
Well, it was a great restart. Billy hasn't been that good on the restarts, but once he gets going up to speed and gets some temperature in those tires, he's been fast.
Now watch the back of Billy Vogt's car. He's running it so low. They've got the car running so low with a fuel load of fuel in. It's scraping its bottom, and you can see sparks coming up. I think he's going to pick up speed as he gets rid of the fuel.
Ralph, does Billy Vogt have enough fuel to make the distance?
Mike, both Billy Vogt and Kenny Breck do have enough fuel to go the distance, but one thing they did with Vogt on the last pit stop is they put a little stagger in the car to tighten it up a little bit as well.
Vogt has to go 40 laps to the finish. Breck 43, Greg Ray 42 laps, and Scott Goodyear 36.
Well, Ralph, you might check on that stagger. If they put stagger in it, that probably was trying to loosen the car up to free it up in the corner rather than tighten the front end up.
He's breaking the toe. All he needs is another 15 feet, and the other car will not have the advantage that he has on him.
And you'll see Kenny Breck in the picture. That indeed cost him. He's losing track of the leader. So Breck leading that pack.
The white car, and right behind him is Goodyear. So we've got a great battle for 3rd and 4th as well as 1st and 2nd.
Now Robbie Buell is a lap behind that group, the blue car.
He got a lap down early, but Robbie's been as quick as all these guys most of the last half of the race.
Riding with Scott Goodyear, that's Kenny Breck just ahead in the power team car. There they are.
Now, Scott Goodyear's a thinker. He's somebody who's working. He sees exactly how Breck's car is working. He understands what his fuel load is going to be. He'll know exactly how many laps he has to go. And he knows that if he gets a jump on him now, there's a very good chance Breck will get him back. So he'll probably hold off the last 2 laps.
Well, again, if he can stay that close, he gets a little help from Breck breaking the air from him. And this is not breaking air like some of us might be thinking. This is very helpful.
We weren't thinking that, Tom. Robbie Buell not part of this battle. He is 1 lap down along with Scott Sharp, Davey Hamilton.
But he can influence it.
Yes.
He can influence it a lot. And there's a rule out there. If you're going fast enough, you can pass anybody you want in the car, no matter what position they're in. He seems to be quicker than these two cars ahead of him.
And my mistake, Sharp is on the lead lap. It's Billy Boat, Greg Ray, Kenny Breck, Scott Goodyear, and Scott Sharp. The lead lap cars. 1 lap down, Robbie Buell and Davey Hamilton. 2 laps down, Eddie's second car with Robbie Unser and surprising 5th qualifier Marco Greco.
Well, this is a real tribute to the job they've done with this racetrack. These guys have been able to go 2, 3 abreast, run the pedal flat on the floor, anywhere on the racetrack.
This, I think, is one of the most beautiful facilities that we race on, and it really is a pleasure to come here in Texas because they know speed. They've had the Rutherfords and the Foyts, and every time we've had a restart, if you look outside of this booth, everybody stands up. So they really understand it. It's such a great facility. It's such a good race.
Well, I think they might be able to bring those T-shirts back. Just shut up and drive.
Yeah, it applies. No, it's more like just shut up, put your foot down, and drive.
Oh, you heard Goodyear have to pedal it as Kenny Breck came down the racetrack. 193 laps complete. Billy Boat the leader. Greg Ray, Kenny Breck, Scott Goodyear, Scott Sharp. The lead lap cars. You're watching the Pep Boys Indy Racing League live on TNN.
Goodyear is just right all over it right now.
Third place, change.
We got a car up against the wall in 1 and 2 going slow.
I think he had a problem. He kind of tried to get out of his way. It's the Lazier. That's a bad place to be. There's cars going. He tried to get back down and had to get back up out of the way.
Car 16, let the leaders go.
He is the 10th place car.
Well, he can't find a way to get down. Nope. There he goes. He finally got down. It's
a lot of fluid.
They're putting fluid on the racetrack. I think they're probably going to call it yellow for this.
Look at Greg Ray.
For the lead on the outside, 3 wide around Marco Greco, and he almost gets into Billy Boat.
Traffic. That's the only thing that could cost both the races, traffic.
Well, that was unbelievable. Greg Ray was towed down into the corner.
Now he's trying to break the toes. Here, he's staying on the inside.
Could Boat have been anticipating a caution? Hard to say. A lot of traffic in front of him at that time, though.
That's the big thing.
And Greg Ray is right there again.
And he's close enough now that he can put a hook right on the back of Boat's car. And he's got to run out now. He's got him. He's got him. He's got him.
Boat drove down in there and had to get out of the front.
Lap 200.
That was a brilliant move. He does not have the faster car of the two, but he has to use the traffic to his advantage, and he's doing it.
Well, here comes Billy. He isn't done with him yet.
And Billy's got a little bit more power now. Yeah, well, he's going to have to work hard to get around this guy.
Well, Billy Boat made the textbook move on the lap car. He went outside, expected the lap car to stay low.
There ain't no textbook move when coming down to pass the cars. It's the guy that makes the might move.
Everything was textbook, but he had to lift a little bit. There goes Billy on the inside. Right back by him. Good racing going on.
Ray's wife, Nancy.
I've always felt very sorry for the wives in the pit because it's so difficult. The driver's out there driving, and he's really busy, but to sit here and watch it.
Well, you got to keep busy. If you can keep busy doing something, work the computer or do something, but don't just let them sit there and watch this.
Here's some more traffic again. And Boat lifted off, and Ray's got to run at him again.
And he's got him.
You can't lift off. You take your foot off the throttle, you're going to come back.
Through the grass. Greg Ray trying to find a spot around.
Easy.
Finally,
4 to go. Set him up.
Finally, we got Tom Knapp excited. The guy on the radio, he hasn't been too excited all day, but that got his attention.
But he's got... Greg Ray has now got Boat's attention. Boat is starting to drive defensively. He's taking a defensive line. So if he can keep harassing him this long, Boat could be pushing to making a mistake, especially if they come up to traffic. Because the last time they had traffic, he went the wrong way.
5 laps to go. Sam Schmidt to the pit. 4 laps to go now. My mistake. Greg's wife is Angela, not Nancy. A little excited up here. Smoke there. Nail-biting time in Texas.
2 Texas cars, a Texas owner and a Texas driver.
Greg Ray's best career finish, 8th here last year.
The battle for 3rd.
Scott better make his move pretty soon.
And he got held up there.
That's
Marco Greco holds up Scott Goodyear.
Marco Greco's very good at doing that. That seems to be something that he excels at.
Well, he's just trying to hang on. If the car isn't right, you're just trying to save your life every corner, and it's hard to get out of the way and save your life at the same time. You've been there.
But he does have a unique talent of getting in the way, though.
Billy Boat, your leader, looking for his first IRL win. Check that. It was Tice Carlson, not Marco Greco, corrected. flag for Billy Boat. Greg Ray is there. It'll be a career day.
And Boat's got a car ahead of him. Boat has traffic right up ahead of him.
There's one traffic that could be a problem.
He's got to get by him before he goes into 3. Because if he doesn't, there he goes, he's got him. That could be the move that wins him the race.
Well, John Paul is down a few laps, and being the experienced driver he is, he just got out of the way and let this thing happen.
Billy Boat takes the checkered flag. Greg Ray is second, and for third, Kenny Brett holds off Scott Goodyear.
You heard Floyd on the radio, big kiss for Billy. I don't know if that's good incentive for a driver or not.
I might just want to stay out there.
4 winners in 4 races in 1998. Another first-time winner. Billy Boat for A.J. Foyt. This year, Billy Boat will get to keep that winner's trophy. We'll be right back. Billy Boat, first-time Pep Boys Indy Racing League winner. Let's go to Pep Boys victory lane, Ralph Sheen.
Oh, Mike, it's a happy scene down here. We got Billy Boat and car owner A.J. Foyt hugging. Billy, congratulations on that first career Pep Boys Indy Racing League victory.
Thank you. You know, we came back. We really wanted to win this one bad, you know. I got to give a lot of credit to my whole team. Conseco, Goodyear Tires, you know, I had a race car that never, ever gave up all night long. I mean, I had a great race car, and I just ran it till it and I was flat out most of the time. So, you know, great job for the whole Conseco team.
AJ made a call at the last bit there to put a little stagger into the car to tighten you up. Was that the difference in that battle with Greg Ray?
Well, you know, you lose so much momentum here with traffic. I mean, you lift just a little bit in traffic, and it just kills you. So I knew I had a good race car. I just had to time the traffic right, make sure he couldn't get a run on me. But this is a great victory, kind of vindication for us.
AJ, congratulations on getting that win in an IndyCar race back here in your home state of Texas. How's it feel?
Well, it makes it feel, you know, I felt we won it last year, and I hope nobody hollers this year because we was up front almost all night long. But all I can say, Billy drove a hell of a race, and I just wish this could be 2 wins straight, you know, with Indy and that. But, you know, Eddie did a good job, and we just had a bad day today. It was our day.
Billy Boat and A.J. Foyt celebrating down here in our Pep Boys victory lane. Vince?
Greg Ray just said they should have some hellacious pictures out of my in-car camera. He gave one heck of a ride today, and you got past Billy in the final stages, but you couldn't stay in front of him. Why?
Well, I think Billy had 1 tooth or 2 tooths bigger gear, and he was just faster on top, and I could barely stay with him in the draft. I think we had a better handling car. If we had more traffic, you know, maybe we could pull it off, but he just had too much for us. And again, this is the second place, but for our team and for AT&T Wireless Services, this is a victory for us, so we're very excited.
There are a lot of race fans around the country that saw the name Greg Ray on the front row at the Indianapolis 500. They see Greg Ray leading in the late stages of this race and finishing second, and they're saying, where'd this Greg Ray come from? It's been a Cinderella story.
It has been a Cinderella story. I started back in 1991, and I've done a lot of years of lower formula, so it's not an overnight success. But again, I can't say enough about this small team, Thomas Nat Motorsports, and AT&T Wireless Services coming on as a sponsor, and certainly Texas Motor Speedway, and even TNN and True Value being our sponsor at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But again, it's just you know, this is very exciting for us, and the key to our success is Tom Knapp and my relationship, and we work really good together, and I hope to keep that relationship for a very long time.
Billy Boat's in the Pep Boys Indy Racing League victory lane, but as you heard Greg Ray say, it was a victory for him today as well.
A career best for Greg Ray, amateur Formula 2000 champ in 92, Pro F2000 champ the next year, and here he is, runner-up in the Pep Boys Indy Racing League. We'll be right back. 26,000 items at the guaranteed low price. Everything but gas. Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway. Eddie Cheever, thanks for taking time to spend the race with us. I learned a lot. In New Hampshire in a couple of weeks, I hope you don't have a chance to join us. Better luck up there.
I don't want to be back. I like you guys, but I'd much rather be down there. This is not even half as fun as it is driving out there.
I know the check's in the bank, but Indy 500 champion. How's that feel? That's starting to fit pretty well?
Yeah, it fits well. I like to be the New Hampshire champion after the next race that we have, but it's always, the last race is a long time ago. Let's go to the next one.
Great. Have fun tomorrow in Montreal at the Grand Prix. Wish I was going with you.
Thank you very much.
Tom Sneva, wow.
Yeah, no kidding, Mike. I mean, we got the winner with donuts on the side of his race car. I mean, this is these are open-wheel cars putting on NASCAR-type shows. I mean, the formula's working, and a great show. I'm not sure we could show it all to you, but there was some great action. Billy Boat did a tremendous job. How about the call for Greg Ray running second? A small team, not with the budget that some of these big guys have.
And Kenny Breck, best career finish in third. 21 lead changes among 6 drivers. Billy Boat led 9 times. 44 lead changes in the last 2 Pep Boys Indy Racing League events. That'll likely surpass any other racing series, especially any open wheel series. Best career finish for the first 3 finishers. Texas car owner or driver in the first 3 positions. What a show. You couldn't ask for much more. For Tom Sneva, Mike Joy, and our guest Eddie Cheever, Vince Welch, and Ralph Shaheen, we congratulate Billy Boat, a winner in Texas in the Pep Boys Indy Racing League.